is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. As the Minutes administration marks 4 years in office, the Prime Minister says they lost 3 of those to crisis. More vaccines could be here this week, as PAHO says another 64,000 vaccine doses to arrive by next month. And the BUT wants to close schools as COVID cases climb. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
It's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Don Sargent will be joining us. Also this morning, we'll be talking with Doctors Hospital about their free webinar tonight. It's COVID-19, where are we now and what's next? Plus, as we just said, the FNM, the Minutes administration, marking 4 years in office. We're going to be talking about the first 4 years with members of the opposition. That's all straight ahead, and going into Morning Blend business as well with their take on the economy. That's coming up. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, on the 4th anniversary of the Free National Movement's sweeping election victory, Prime Minister Dr. Ibrahim saying that his government lost 3 years of its term to disasters and crises as he defended its performance to date. He recalled Hurricanes Irma and, of course, Dorian and the pandemic. He said, quote, "We had 3 challenges, so we had to decide whether you just stop and deal with the catastrophic problems, or are you a true government and run 2 parallel tracks, one track to deal with the catastrophic problems that we faced and another track to still move the country forward." We kept on course with moving the country forward. The FNM, led by Minutes, was elected by a landslide on May 10th, 2017, in what was largely seen as a national condemnation of the PLP administration led by former Prime Minister Perry Christie. On the campaign trail, Minutes promised accountability and transparency and the legislation to ensure it. But 4 years in, a number of those promises remain unfulfilled, including the legislation to create an integrity commission, to implement a term limit for the Prime Minister, and to introduce fixed election dates, as well as local government reform. When pressed on those issues yesterday, the Prime Minister says he still believes them to be important, but that his government has been limited by external factors. As the administration of the second doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine began in the country yesterday, Deputy Chair of the National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee, Ed Fields, says more doses are expected in the country this week as efforts to secure even more vaccines continue. He says they expect another 33,000 any day now, and as early as today. Meanwhile, PAHO says that the country is expected to receive 64,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine through the COVAX facility by early June. So far, according to PAHO, the manufacturers have informed them that 33,600 vaccines are still on schedule to arrive this month. And with 64,000 doses split into 2 installments, countries can continue their vaccine rollout with the first installment and get the other installment later in the month, according to PAHO. It said the vaccine manufacturers have indicated that the first tranche is expected to arrive earlier in May and the second in late May or early June. And having monitored the growing number of COVID cases in the country, BUT President Belinda Wilson is urging the Ministry of Education to close all schools in New Providence and revert to virtual learning. She's urging the same for the Family Islands, where case numbers are growing. Barring that, Wilson called for a revised workable plan by the ministry, a reduction of the hours in-person learning is conducted, and a reduction in the number of students who will be participating in face-to-face learning, if any. Overseas, Israel unleashing new airstrikes on Gaza early today, hitting the high-rise home of a Hamas field commander and 2 border tunnels dug by militants, as Hamas and other armed groups fired dozens of rockets toward Israel. The escalation in the conflict was sparked by weeks of tensions in contested Jerusalem. Since sundown Monday, when the cross-border attacks began, 24 Palestinians, including 9 children, were killed in Gaza, most by airstrikes. The Israeli military says 15 of the dead were militants. During the same period, Gaza militants fired more than 250 rockets toward Israel, including 6 Israeli civilians in a direct hit on an apartment building. In a further sign of rising tensions, Israel signaled it is widening its military campaign. The military says it is sending troop reinforcements to the Gaza border, and the defense minister ordered the mobilization of 5,000 reserve soldiers. In sports, the 49th edition of the Carifta Track and Field Games canceled for a second year in a row. They had been rescheduled for August 13th through 15th in Bermuda, but the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Athletics Association, NACAC, taking the decision based on the COVID-19 regulations outlined by host nation Bermuda. The government there has maintained that the 14-day quarantine for unvaccinated visitors is non-negotiable, making it highly impractical for there to be an under-17 category, as is the norm, and for NACAC to stage the region's premier junior track and field meet there. Bermuda, like a number of other countries in the region, experiencing a spike in COVID cases right now. Other potential challenges included the impact of positive COVID-19 tests during the meet, available hotel rooms, and timelines for booking charters and making payments. As you may recall, Carifta 2020 was not staged because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and Bermuda transferred its hosting responsibilities to 2021. And after being postponed for a week, the Mile Butler Blue Wave Swim Club Spring Invitational took place over the weekend. The swimmers were back in action at the Betty Kelly Kenning National Swim Complex for the first time since March. Head coach of the club, Dylan Brown, says he was happy with the performances of the swimmers who were eager to get back in the pool after a long layoff. You can read more about this in today's Guardian Sports section. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, we've got high pressure that will continue to dominate the weather across the area, especially the northwest and central Bahamas. while troughing near the central and southeastern islands will increase rain chances across those areas today. Beachgoers in the central and southeast Bahamas should exercise caution due to the risk of rip currents at east coast beaches. For today, your forecast for the northwest Bahamas: partly mostly sunny and hot with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms. Mostly fair and warm with a few stray showers tonight. Small craft operators should also be alert for gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers or thunderstorms across all areas. Winds east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, but falling light and variable at times, mainly across the extreme northwest Bahamas, seas 2 to 4 feet. For the central and southeast Bahamas today, look for partly cloudy and breezy conditions with increasing cloudiness, showers, and possible thunderstorm activity by this afternoon through tonight. A small craft caution is in effect for the southeast Bahamas. Small craft operators should also be alert for gusty winds and higher seas in or near showers and thunderstorms. Winds easterly at 15 knots in the central Bahamas, easterly at 15 to 20 knots in the southeastern islands, seas 3 to 5 feet in the central Bahamas, but 4 to 7 feet in the southeast Bahamas. It is 79 degrees under partly cloudy skies right now in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have an extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit.
Wake up, it's a new day.
It is time for a break, but when we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
It's start of the end of the old way.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of the new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us at 422-4796. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Don Sargent. Good morning, Don. Yep. Don? Yes, is he there? Yeah, okay. We're going to get him there. And you can join the conversation as well on Twitter at MorningBlend969 or Facebook, facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Email us morningblend@nascar.com, or you can text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. Remember, standard Text rates apply. Coming up this morning, more weather, traffic, and in just a few minutes, we'll be talking with Doctors Hospital. They've got a free webinar coming up in just a few hours talking about COVID-19. Where are we now and what's next? We'll get some details about that from them. And then later, we are going to be talking about the milestone yesterday, the 4-year anniversary of the Minutes administration's election win. 4 years in. That's a good question. Where are we now and what's next? We'll be talking about that with the opposition this morning. And that's going to lead into Morning Blend Business as well. Don, you're there with us. Good morning. Yep. No? Okay.
Morning.
There we go. Great to have you with us. Good morning.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do that. Let's get into what's in the news. And in the news, we're going to get to the 4-year mark for the Minutes administration in just a bit. But let's talk about what's happening with the vaccines. Some interesting information revealed yesterday as the second doses began. The word glitch came up. That's not a good word to be using, but for more on what happened exactly, take a listen to this report from our Kyle Joaquin.
And as you know, any transfer of data creates, some hiccups.
The transfer of data from one platform to another as more and more COVID-19 vaccines came into country created a small issue for the COVID-19 Consultative Committee. Data regarding thousands of vaccine recipients somehow didn't make the transfer.
So I think out of 10,000, we recognize that we had probably somewhere between 800 and 1,000 names that didn't transfer for whatever reasons. We then subsequently updated. That number is now dwindled down significantly. I can't tell you the exact number, but that's been dwindled down significantly.
Committee co-chair Ed Field says no one's personal information has been lost or jeopardized.
No. We know where the data is. It's just a matter of getting it uploaded to the new system.
Second doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine began Monday morning with Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis getting his.
Show them that it's not water.
See, it's not water. Okay? Everybody?
Field says another 33,000 doses of the vaccine is expected in country as early as Tuesday. He said there should be no issue for those still looking to get their first dose.
Obviously, the demand will determine how we manage that. So I want the folks who are out there to know that we're literally monitoring this day by day based on the demand for first doses, and of course making sure that second dose folks all have doses available for them. So that's how we're going to have to manage it. I couldn't sit here right now and say, oh, we're going to stop it on this day or we're going to stop it on that day. We have to look to see how the demand is happening on a daily basis.
And Field said more doses are also expected in country at the end of May. Over 36,000 Bahamians have gotten their first dose so far. Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
All right. So more expected as early as today, we are told. And PAHO also saying that some will come this month and some may arrive early next month. All right. So, all this is happening as the numbers are increasing and leveling off a little bit of the past few days, but still much higher than they were a couple of months ago. And now the union, the teachers' union, is concerned about this. BUT president Belinda Wilson has great concerns, having monitored the growing number of cases. She's urging the Ministry of Education to close all schools in New Providence and revert to virtual learning. She's urging the same for Family Islands, where case numbers are growing. She says, barring that, they need to come up with a workable plan, a reduction of the hours of in-person learning, and a reduction in the number of students who will be participating in face-to-face learning. She's saying, quote, and if you are going to have face-to-face learning, let the students of grades 9 and 12, the BJC and BGCSE examination candidates, respectively, let them attend school. This was in a voice note that has been widely circulated. She says, quote, if there is a need for a full closure of all schools, then use the predicted grades to award grade 12 students their BGCSE certificates and then give them the option of sitting the examination at a later date. Predicted grades. Several schools in New Providence have had students and faculty test positive for COVID-19 during the third wave that the country is currently experiencing. Ministry officials have closed several schools for cleaning, but they have said they believe the infections are occurring outside the school environment. Wilson, though, says, quote, we've been monitoring the COVID-19 cases in schools for the past few weeks. Our observation is that more schools are impacted and teaching and learning is interrupted daily. The fear, anxiety, and concern is growing increasingly among teachers and students, as there are some schools that have been impacted for the second and third time. There seems to be community spread, and schools can easily become a breeding ground for COVID. Now, the Ministry of Education last month advised that suspected COVID-19 cases were reported at 7 government schools in New Providence, and additionally 5 students and staff members at various schools tested positive for the virus in the last few weeks. Director of Education Marcellus Taylor did not respond when asked for comment about the union's request up to press time last night. He said last month, though, that the situation is being monitored and that if there is evidence of spread in the schools, the ministry may take a different course of action. Okay, so let's talk about it all. What's going on here with the vaccines, what's happening with the schools, what should be the case. We've seen that with some private schools as well. I believe Queens College did that, saying that they are done with in-person learning and it'll all be virtual for the remainder of the school year. What should we do? We know that many students didn't like it. Parents didn't like it. Teachers, I don't know if the teachers liked it much either. The virtual learning, going back to that. Is that the answer here? Let's talk about it all. Let's get your views on it. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Send us your tweets at MorningGlen969 or Facebook.com/MorningGlen969. Text us 422-4796. What are your views, Don? What do you think? I mean, it's only a month left to go. Of course, a lot of terrible things can happen in a month, but what do you make of this?
Yes. I was going to say, well, I don't know the situation for teachers. I don't think you should force or pressure people to get vaccines. But I think basically for the rest of the semester, even a lot of private schools have been doing it. They've been doing a hybrid system, mainly out of necessity. As you know, persons who have more resources have been traveling a bit, and then that's led to situations in some of the private schools for like Easter break and stuff like that. So I think the virtual learning is here to stay for a while. Even next semester, you may see a hybrid situation. Like if you are feeling a certain sort of way or you traveled recently, you should be staying home, going to school virtually. That's what I would do for my kid.
Well, I mean, that's what they've been doing in the public school system. They've been, one day you're in, one day you're online, one day you're in. So it's basically a hybrid.
I know of one public school in particular that's been a bit of a wonky situation where they would, bring people back in, and then a teacher would get sick from one of the students, and then it just spreads like wildfire, and then they shut the school down again. And it's like been a yo-yo process for them since January, where it's like open, shut down, open, shut down, open, shut down. Then they do cleaning, then they open up again, then the same thing happens again. Like I said, I think the hybrid situation is going to be here for a while until these numbers get under control. And I don't know. I don't know if that can happen, because I being honest with you, Dwight, I can't see any other situation other than the one that we're in right now.
Wow.
The only thing you can do is try, like I said, to have those things where people will be honest and report when they've traveled. Because I've heard of 2 instances from 2 parents from a private school. They had no idea that one of their child's friends had traveled. I'm not going to talk about any business, but supposedly that's led to some people getting sick. The parents didn't report anything. They didn't find out until people started testing positive. So there's a lot of responsibility on individuals, the parents, the families, as well as on the government, the schools. So until anything of that situation hits anything to normalcy, we're going to find ourselves in a virtual environment. Even at the University of the Bahamas, if things continue to go in this direction, you may see next semester even go into a virtual environment again.
Right.
So it's very uncomfortable times we're in, but it's better that than nothing, and it's better that than you going to school and getting loads of people sick with COVID-19, and then we see the community spread like a wildfire again.
All right, let's get to some of your messages. We'll take your calls in a bit as well. Here's one. I have to wonder if Belinda Wilson is trying to cripple the already struggling educational system. Were there cases reported in the public schools lately? Yes, there were. There's only 2 months, not even two, a little over a month left in the school year. Why is she calling for schools to go virtual? Why put that burden on parents? Does she realize how many parents whose children are in QC are struggling to find helpers to care for their children during virtual school, and on top of that, find the money to pay them? All of this after paying. It's going to be tough for a lot of people. Definitely going to be tough. Let's get to this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. What are you doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
Morning, Dawn. Good morning, Bahamas. Dwight, I like Melinda good. We go together. She is a history girl. But I cannot agree with her for closing down school again. Because listen, man, we are throwing people out of school. All this COVID, that's foolishness, man. We just need to find a way to get it done. All these churches that get money that get subvention from government money, they need to use the church spaces and educate the children. I just be in the city every day.
I mean, she's not saying to stop schools. She's just saying that it has to go virtual.
On a virtually weekend, Dwight, you know that? That virtually weekend, people, just the same way how we live with the AIDS, economic. It's all about educating people in that way.
Well,
I just make sanitizers and give them away. I just give them masks every day. We need to work together, man. This is not political. This is sense. They just call us dumb now. Oh, when people dumb, we need to keep them nurturing in school. They are the future of our country, Dwight. We just need to come together as a nation, pray to God, and make it work, man.
okay.
School can raise lower so on, Dwight, man. Come on. Shut it down for what? Thanks for taking my call, my brother.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Go virtual. But yeah, AIDS very, very different. But
You
okay.
gotta remember
You don't
too,
know
right?
what's
Because
going on.
people are getting sick, like I said, and the reason why I think anyway. Let me not say anything.
Okay. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Early days of this dark voice along with you on Dawn, Dwight.
Hi.
Dwight, wars and rumors of war. We need the Lord to the peace table. But Dawn made an interesting, within his monologue, he heralded a word when he said, control. That's the problem. It's beyond Belinda Wilson, okay? The whole thing is they trying to degrade our children, and only the strong going to survive. You see what I'm saying?
No. I don't understand.
What I am saying is, right, this whole situation is a setup. That's all it is, a setup. So you got to be strong to overcome. Thank you.
Okay. All right. This text here, I have 3 aunts who teach in public schools, 2 senior, 1 primary. None are complaining about school closing. They welcome face-to-face because students are more responsive to face-to-face than virtual. People who agree to school closing don't have children in school. Well, let's read some more of your messages. I don't know what this is. That's about the vaccine. Okay, we'll come to that in a second. Someone says here, where are the public schools with preparations for end of time examinations? I guess you mean term, because I think we may all fail the end of time ones. She's talking crazy about predicted grades when she knows they have the systems in place to do predicted grades, or they don't. They don't have the system to do predicted grades properly. The teachers don't want to take the vaccine, and they don't want COVID-19. We need to pick our medicine to get out of the pandemic. We either take the vaccine or get COVID-19 in order to arrive at herd immunity, which is at Bahamas.
So that makes me ask the question, Dwight, when are you getting the vaccine?
Yeah, soon. Very soon. Okay. This one here. We are going into nope, I'm not reading that. You're talking foolishness and rebuke it. This one here. Why don't we just all give up on everything? We will soon lose everything in this darn COVID. My life is basically gone. Wow. Okay. That's very bleak.
I wanted to say this though. I don't look at, again. I don't think Lynn is being malicious when she's saying these things. I can speak on. I only can speak on one government school because someone is very close to me works there. Like I said, they've had repeated incidents where they'd open up a little, someone gets sick, and they have to shut the whole thing down again. So I think what she's saying is looking out for the interests of the people that you represent, which is President Obama's Teachers Union. I don't think it's the case that some people have said the teachers are lazy. I don't know if they want to take the vaccine, and I can't speak for all of them. I know a handful that have taken the vaccine. I don't know, but I do know she's speaking for their safety. Because if you know anything about government, I don't even need to finish that sentence. But anyway, I don't think it's malicious. And I do agree with people, though, it's not the greatest solution in the universe to go virtual. I'm not going to say that and pretend as if it's that amazing. It's not. But it's better than nothing.
Yep. Okay. This one here, this goes back to the vaccine issue that we were talking about earlier. It's a straight math problem. We have a given number who have already gotten the vaccine. They will need a second dose. That leaves a certain number of vaccines for first doses. And all those newly added first dose individuals will need a second dose. So whatever you have left needs to be cut in half. So why do we have to have all these hazarded guess and can't say and have to get back to you? Well, because in any event, it's not enough. The number of vaccines that we will get when you add them all up is not enough to achieve what we need to achieve. We need many, many, many more doses, many more. So we're just playing around now at the moment until we really achieve doses in the 500,000 or close to that, right?
Because we need to get Dwight to get one too.
Yes. So we keep saying we have 400,000 people here, right? So you can do the math, or you need 1 million. Right, almost. So we have a very long way to go. I mean, if not all those people will need to be vaccinated, but if you think about the total population numbers, right, you need to get to we've had about 10,000 supposedly people who've been infected. We don't know how long they will have immunity, if there is any. Lots of guessing and speculation, but we have a long way to go. A long way to go. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
So, Strachan, how are you doing, sir?
Hi, good morning.
When you get Strachan, let me ask you a question, right? They have Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and the government of Bahamas told us they paid down on that. Hello?
I don't recall that being
yes,
said.
Yes, they did. They say paid down 200-something thousand, but to make a long story short, Mr. Strachan, I talking about...
Don, do you remember that?
Yes, they did.
No,
that doesn't sound...
Mr. Strachan.
I know they talked about... They mentioned it, and they talked about Pfizer. But this is the only one they did. COVAX tells you what you can get.
Let me say another thing, right? I mean, do you realize right now, one and done, do you realize right now, in America right now, baseball teams getting permissions to have all fans in the stand, the game over? They have to learn to live with this and adjust to this, wear your mask, wash your hands, the game over.
Because people are getting vaccinated. That's why. That's not because because people have decided they're tired. It's because people are getting vaccinated. You're leaving off the facts, though.
Mr. Strachan, a bigger picture happened right now. The government, the Prime Minister, is saying they lost 3 years to disaster. So I guess the corruption with Dwayne Sands, Marvin Dames.
Every time, I said it yesterday, but I don't know why. What do you have to give?
I really wondered, like, when the PLP is in power, do you have people that call in to do the same thing on, like, for the FNM?
Yes.
Oh,
it's an epidemic.
No, I was just curious. I thought, how do you get these sorts of, like, fans? I'm just saying, imagine if, like.
And they hate the show, which is amazing. They hate the show and they dislike me very, very much. Hate might be the best word to use, but I really, God help me the day when I so fervently follow something I hate. to the point where anyway. But yeah, I just don't. But yeah. Watch and see. If it does change, you'll see. They'll come. They're very quiet now, but they'll come.
I guess they quiet because they eat.
They're making the money. That's what they're doing. Then they'll then during the famine times they'll be back. It's just, it's a giant seesaw. It's 5 years up, 5 years down, 5 years up, 5 years down. That's what we keep doing here. Oh boy. Okay, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning to you, Dwight. Good morning to you, Don, Seattle, and Johnson.
Hi.
Don, it's a job for the off season. So when the game is on, you don't need it. So if you're in the minor league or whatever.
Right, they're like on vacation now, so having some good times.
But Dwight, let me ask you a question though. Like on your schedule, this is a repeat show? Or?
Oh, see, Alan. Every day is a repeat.
Yeah, I always have to
every
check.
day.
I always want to check, and I say, "Oh man, I didn't catch it when it started."
Every morning on the video stream, I should hold up a calendar. Like,
yes,
nope.
I think you need to mention the date more preeminently to each break, so we can know it's not. Because I'm like, it's almost I'm hearing the virtual learning. I'm hearing the same conversation with the minister. I think this administration can be compared to pigeons. Where they just flew in, crap over everything, and then leave.
Oh wow.
So. But what happens is when we talk about, what it's done his 4 years, right? Never in the history of our world has the FNM had the tools that is necessary for developing a nation that allows you to run at the same time. This, I know Dr. Minister says that all nations are having this crisis, but all nations don't have the tools and the resources that is necessary for an active and aggressive recovery. And so it says success is how well you have done based on what you are capable of doing, not how well you've done compared to how bad somebody else has done. And so we were capable of doing a lot of things, and I think we should judge this administration by what they were capable of doing and what they did not do. And so when you begin to look at freedom of information, transparency, accountability, integrity, anti-corruption, time limits, fixed election dates, fixed what is called the boundary commissions, all these different things.
The recall system.
Because it isn't the 35 of them that does the work. We have a $1 billion machinery in the background for which you delegate authority. And so, and the biggest problem we face is that we are getting excuses from leadership as opposed to an assessment of where we are and the next steps we should be taking. And so, here it is. We are at the precipice of a tsunami, along with a Category 6 financial hurricane hitting the country. We borrowed $2.3 billion in 9 months in. We are at negative $900 million on top of that. So that technically, out of a $2.9 billion budget, we have $3.2 billion in the hole. We already exceeded what it is that we even have. So we could almost write off the income that we should have had. So so here it is now. We're going into a new year with another $3 billion budget, 42,000 people on the payroll for government. When you count the PPP, the contract workers, the 52-week program, the temporary workers, and the other designations they have, and so we are in this vortex of sucking this economic out of the country with nothing coming in. And so we have not had any type of shifting. We had promises from the Economic Recovery Committee. Now we have a policy institute to study the policies that was recommended to the government for us to make a decision. And we're less than about 6 weeks away from a new fiscal year. And so the question is, what are we going to do from this point going forward? Now, when we even talk about education, the most important aspect of this economy is the retooling and rebooting and reimagining of the economy. Here it is, we talk about this education. We spent, $20 million in time and resources so far for virtual learning, digital learning, remote learning, distance learning, augmented learning, blending learning, online learning, offline learning, in-person learning. I mean, so much definitions that's been spit out over and over and over again. When we again had the unique opportunity to move into what is necessary, we have a small demographics of students, and when you look at what has been paid, Belinda Wilson is absolutely correct. the problem is not virtual learning as we have it. The problem is that we have not brought forth a competent, comprehensive plan of what virtual learning is. Have the Guardian or anyone seen the platform, the actual layout, architecture, whatever it had supposed to work and function? We have thousands of kids with tablets. I guarantee you that 90% of them does not fit into a virtual learning environment. We have how many of those students and other people don't have access to the internet? Do you know, Dwight?
I don't know.
No, that's what I'm saying. So this whole thing is like make-believe. It's almost like you wake up in this fantasy land. And, I've talked about this ADAPT program where virtual learning. See, virtual learning is never meant for some children to sit in front of a classroom and stare at a screen for 8 hours. That's not what virtual learning is. It's a whole new process using technology for the enhancement and development of skills. The problem is we're trying to teach digitally. That's not a learning platform that we have. And there is methodology of how we can have this. But what you have is you have a closed shop. And essentially what we have is the Prime Minister seems to be drinking from an empty cup when it comes to ideas for the development of our country. But we are not, as citizens, individually, we need to go find our members of parliament and demand answers from them because they are the ones who are supposed to hold the cabinet and the executive accountable. And so this is not just a failure of the cabinet. This is an endemic failure of governance in the Bahamas. We are not seeing governance in the Bahamas from opposition forces or from the government. We have political parties now offering bubble gums as future. We have political parties saying if you just close your eyes and imagine wealth unlimited, you don't have to work, you don't have to do anything else. And these are almost are taken seriously while the rest of the world is digitally prepared, advancing in a hyper-digital, fast-moving environment, and we're still having bubblegum. Please give the disclaimer in the middle of the day and say, today we will be repeating what we did yesterday, and hopefully we will
from 9 years ago, Seattle. Right. Repeating what we talked about in 2012.
Unless you demand more, you will not get more. If you keep doing the same thing, why do you sit around expecting a different result?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. So got a couple messages coming in about how long I let C. Allen talk and how biased I am. He didn't slander one person there, by the way, unlike some other people. And he was asking some good questions, but I don't know. I guess folks can't discern the difference between attacking people and questioning. Okay. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. Maybe that's why we all need to go back to school, clearly. All right. Let's do it. Let's get into what he brought it up. We might as well get into it now about what the Prime Minister is saying on the 4-year mark of his administration and how three of those were lost to crises. Take a listen to this report.
As I've said, priorities had to be shifted because we had 3 years of destruction. We could have totally ignored the destruction and just stick to your program. But if you did that, your country would be a disaster.
The Prime Minister says Hurricane Irma in 2017, Dorian in 2019, and the COVID-19 pandemic have cost the Minnis administration 3 of its 4 years in office so far, and that many of the plans his government had on the table had to be adjusted.
We could have concentrated only on the catastrophic problems that we face, but then what happens? Your country stagnates, it don't move. We had to run 2 parallel tracks and move the 2 parallel tracks, ensure that we deal with the catastrophic problem, ensure that we dealt with the growth, development, and expansion of the country. It was impossible to deal with all of what we promised within that 1 year, but be assured that all will be done. Thank you very much.
Since the passage of Irma in 2017, the government has been criticized for the slow pace of work on Ragged Island, which was the heart of it. And in 2019, after Dorian, there was also concern over the response by the international community compared to the government. And then there's COVID-19, which Minnis says his government has been handling well.
We were successful in terms of implementing a vaccination program. We managed what we thought was the COVID pandemic that we've seen throughout the world. And now we're slowly opening up our economy.
But there are other promises made by the then opposition on the campaign trail in 2017 that have yet to be realized.
I am still a strong advocate for term limits for prime ministers. I am still a strong advocate that no prime minister should go beyond 2 terms, 10 years. That's still coming. I am still a strong advocate for fixed dates. That's still coming.
Minnis said free tertiary education at the University of the Bahamas and BTVI, health and land ownership have been accomplished so far, things he's proud to say have been done under his watch.
So we are well on our way in spite of the challenge, in spite of losing 3 years. 4 years in power, you lose 3. Irma, Dorian, and COVID.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Okay. Let's get your views on it. Those things are still coming. Still coming when, though? When? When are they coming? This final year, they're going to pile all of that in there. They're going to be able to do that in that House of Assembly where nothing can get done without chaos and personal attacks and with... Oh, boy. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's get your views on what he's saying. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Again, we're going to have more on this a little bit later in the show as well. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing?
Doing well.
I'm your guest. That's it. Just a little side track this. The man Allen had 3 years to get it right like that pre-national movement. It's excellent contribution. But Allen, man, you take too long, man. In a nutshell these days, man, listen, like 3 years? What minutes talking about? So what they do in the first year?
Or was one of the crises in the first year? I don't know what he's talking about. And
what
Irma,
they did, just 6 months vacation, right?
that they took a while before they got to work. They did.
Exactly. So he lost 4 years. And he can lose this next one too, because we ain't getting no more chances. You understand me? And minutes guy learn how to walk and choke up.
That's the thing. He's mentioning the parallel track, but that's what you have to do. You know that you are in a hurricane zone. You know that every year we are threatened. You know that that's going to be a likelihood. So that's what governments, they've always been doing that. You've got, as you say, you've got to know to chew gum and walk at the same time.
The only thing I could give him some excuse for is the COVID situation. But the hurricane situation, we live in a hurricane belt, man. You understand me? And Belinda Wilson is my girl. Love her to death. But this is the first time in my lifetime she confused me, man. Because she was the one who was itching when this virtual learning first started off with Jeff Lloyd. Jeff Lloyd, of course, this virtual thing ain't working.
No, that didn't mean that she didn't want it. It just wasn't working. The way that it was set up, well, this is for health reasons now, but the way how it was set up wasn't making sense.
Right.
So that's what she was saying.
Let me tell you something. Taking the numbers and the stats and stuff at that 9.5 will catch and recover. The closing up and locking on here making no sense. We need to get our health system that doctors and nurses like go to the hospital 3 times a week, like even you don't know it's there. You understand? It's like everybody to the hospital running away from everything. We need to get our hospital together. So the 1 or 2 out of 100 students, the 10 or 12 that get sick to be able to get proper treatment. Wow. You can't sacrifice 100 students for a couple of them. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right.
Well, I think in order to get the hospital together, you have to make sure that the hospital doesn't get overwhelmed, which is the reason we did the lockdowns or shutdown in the first place. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I understand his point perfectly, but I'm just saying, like, the lockdowns, the whole purpose of it was to slow or stop the collapse of the healthcare system. I don't know if people remember that. So, again, I'm just saying.
Right. Yep, you're very right. And yes, he mentioned people recovering, but a lot of those people have to be hospitalized before they recover, right? And that takes a toll on your hospital system, as you mentioned, Don, and the people who work there. It's a lot of wear and tear on minds and bodies, right? So we don't need to get there, and that's what Belinda Wilson is talking about, I suspect. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Ben?
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, we are facing a very pivotal time in the country, and I think we're about to make a turn because we've been getting promises. Guess what? Now everything is coming. You know, so is some savior. It's all coming. Just keep it going. You know, everything is said to be backward in this Western world, particularly in the Bahamas, has its links to education, religion, law, and science. And I could go down the list and prove why. Because here it is, we have the political arena that's turned into a religious organization and promising. By the way, Mr. Prime Minister, you lost 3 years. I want the 3 years of salary back because you absolutely did nothing to accomplish anything. I lost that money back. We may consider letting you run no more terms. Thanks for taking my call.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let's read some messages.
I was going to say, Dwight, right before you do that, the thing that I always find hilarious now, because I've lived through several election cycles, is the same things we say about the incumbent or current prime minister is the same thing we say about all of them. Like, I remember right on the same radio station, Dwight, the same things were said about Christie. And people berated him for the situation on the dump, the situation with his cabinet, all sorts of things. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but I start to really question if we really look at things objectively, or do we just go, or is it just that everybody's working very hard to maintain the status quo of 1 year in, a 1 term in, 1 term out for every party? Well, the two major parties, the FNM and PLP.
I can answer your questions.
Because a lot of the criticisms are the same.
Your first question, no. And your second question, yes. We look at things objectively, no. And are we working hard to maintain the status quo? Oh, yes. And some of us don't even know we're doing that, but we are. Yeah. So it's very scary, and that is a recipe for disaster.
Again, I don't support any of the parties, but I'm just saying, I've just noticed the same things. It doesn't matter who's in power, because the same things were said about Ingram. He don't care about the small man, because he shut down all these businesses when he do the road projects. Mm-hmm. And the same thing about Christie, he only care about his brethren, and they don't really believe in Bahamians. And I'm saying thing about Minutes.
Yeah.
So
that's what Seattle was saying. It's like the rerun every day, Groundhog Year in the Bahamas, and it's been that way since I was a child. So God help us. Some messages before we go to the break. This one says here, students are coming to school with COVID and exposing other students. Then the school informs you that your child was exposed 2 weeks after you and your child were exposed, you and other families as well. I agree with Belinda, although this version of online learning is awful and ineffective, and I am a teacher, so trust me, I know. Yeah, that's what she was always saying, that something is not quite right with the platforms they have. Sometimes they don't work at all, and teachers are doing they're using different software, different methods to try to accomplish the goals, but what's been provided is not useful, and that's what she's been complaining about, not about virtual learning per se. Okay, this one says, please tell, what now? What is this? Please tell, oh, I can't read that, but yes, you're right. On this one here, this FNM government has failed the people. The PM stands and finds excuses about the challenges they encounter instead of charting a course to move the country forward. Seems like good doctor can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Excuses. This one here says, so if I understood Dr. Minz correctly, the FNM came to power with no plans to address hurricanes. Absolutely unbelievable. Well, I don't know. I think no plans to deal with things if there is a hurricane. Maybe that's better to say, perhaps. Mm-hmm. This one says term limits and set election dates need to be a referendum. So I hope...
I disagree. That's a waste of money. And if we're going to do a referendum on term limits or any of those things, you might as well not do it at all.
Well, I don't think... Yeah, well, the term limit thing is going to... But the set election date, it might need. Well,
I can tell you, if they do it, none of them are going to win.
No. That's
fail,
not true.
Especially considering how unpopular this government is now.
You see, they waited too long. But if they'd done it early, it would have easily passed. I don't know why anyone would vote against it, just to spite them. But okay, for sure. And this one says here, who are they talking about? The man just talks to hear himself. It's not what happened to you. It's how you handle it. Leaders are born out of crisis, and he is still in an infant stage. Oh, dear. Okay. This one here. Dwight, I agree with the Prime Minister. Rome wasn't built in one day. Former Prime Minister Pindling had 25 years. Ingram had 15, so 4.
Oh boy. This is like half and half of the solution / problem, right? Because we in the Bahamas have been used to strongman leadership of one dude who literally holds a party together, hypothetically, and functions as the strongman political force in the country and leader of their party. But the problem with that notion is that, well, the problem with this country is it isn't an issue necessarily with leadership, It's institutional strengthening as needed in the Bahamas. Like, like when you look at the hurricane reaction to things and then the manpower the government had available to them, it was quite clear that institutions weren't necessarily positioned or created or functioned in a way that could easily respond to a crisis situation like that. Mm-hmm. We blame everything on leadership, but the fact of the matter is, I think if you're a good leader, the one thing you want to do is strengthen institutions in your country. Yeah. When you see these instances of money going to this breakdown and that breakdown, mold falling out of this building, this is maintenance. This is the upkeep of the institutions and buildings of the state. Yeah. Like, these things are endemic. None of the things that happened in Hurricane Dorian is a surprise to anybody that's paid attention to this country, right? These are systemic problems we've always had and never dealt with. We love to pin this on one man or one party, but these issues go far beyond a party or an administration. So I'm just saying, I think the real issue we should be pointing to is institutions. And instead of looking for a leader or some Jesus or Messiah to come rescue us, because they ain't coming to save us, I think what we should be fighting for is the strengthening and the creation of institutions. That is the core tenet to building a state, not personalities and people who can get mad and shut down programs in different ministries when they become a cabinet minister, as we've seen this administration.
Absolutely. We've got to take a break. Here's this text before we go. What terrifies me about this administration is they believe they're doing a good job. How do they define a bad job? I just figured it out. The Prime Minister, if the FNM does it, the PLP does it, anyone else does it, it's bad. Okay, we'll be back. Stay with us. And we've got to look at your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. Gain your real-time traffic at this hour. Smart Butler Highway, heavy traffic from Fire Trail northbound to Tawny Williams-Darling Highway. Glassman Road also busy this morning, northbound, heading towards JFK Drive. Elsewhere, Blue Hill Road northbound, just north of Soldier Road, seeing the heavy traffic there. And Carmichael Road eastbound to Blue Hill, you'll be seeing that. Blue Hill is busy this morning from St. Vincent up to Independence Drive, so keep that in mind. East Street looking a little bit better for you, but between Soldier Road and East-West Highway, you'll notice a lot heavier traffic northbound there. Elsewhere, we're seeing the traffic building on Prince Charles Drive and Robinson Road, mainly westbound, and Foxer Road northbound heading towards Prince Charles Drive. Those are your hottest spots right now. We'll have another real-time report for you just after the 8 o'clock news. This is RBC Traffic Report here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. And time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. We've got high pressure that will continue to dominate the weather across the northwest and central Bahamas, while troughing near the central and southeastern islands will increase rain chances across those areas today. Beachgoers in the central and southeast Bahamas should exercise caution due to the risk of rip currents at east coast beaches. For the northwest Bahamas today, look for partly to mostly sunny and hot conditions, a few isolated showers, and the chance of thunderstorms. Mostly fair and warm with a stray shower or two tonight. For the central southeast Bahamas, partly cloudy and breezy this morning with increasing cloudiness, showers and thunderstorm activity this afternoon through tonight. Smallcraft caution in effect for the southeast Bahamas. Smallcraft operators should be alert for gusty winds and higher seas and heavy showers and thunderstorms. Look for temperatures getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius today. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will continue to linger across the area before shifting eastwards by early Thursday ahead of an approaching cold front. So for Wednesday, tomorrow, partly cloudy and hot with a few isolated showers and the chance of possible thunderstorms, mainly across the northwest Bahamas. Thursday, cloudy to overcast and hot with widely scattered showers and possible thunderstorms. Mainly that's your morning blend weather check. Brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. Basketball fans, you've got to sign up in these the final days of the regular season. Sign up now for Rev Trio. And you can get NBA League Pass absolutely free. Call 601-8992 or email trio@cablebahamas.com to sign up. Rev, you and us together.
Go cashless with CIBC First Caribbean. Sign up for your CIBC First Caribbean Visa debit card today. With our Visa debit card, you pay no sign-up fee, no annual fee, and no interest. You will use funds directly from your linked checking or savings account to shop locally, online, and internationally. Visit CIBCFCIB.com to learn more today. Go cashless with CIBC First Caribbean.
Basketball is back, baby, and so is NBA League Pass, only with Rev Trio. Sign up for Rev Trio today and enjoy absolutely free, along with incredible prizes, including a brand new 50-inch smart TV, NBA gear, and more. With tons of prizes and gear, signing up for Trio is the best on- and off-court move this year. Just call 601-8992 or visit www.rev.bs/promotions/trio. Sign up for Rev Trio today and enjoy NBA League Pass absolutely free.
Meet Jackie. Jackie's a hard worker with a steady income, but she has a personal loan and multiple credit cards to pay off. To keep her account current, Jackie opted for a loan from Fidelity Bank to consolidate her debt into one monthly payment and earn interest on a built-in savings account. Be like Jackie. Call 356-7764 to book a complimentary financial coaching session. Fidelity also offers virtual assistance. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
Traveling around the world, it's that girl forcing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Don Sargent. We'll get back to the politics a little bit later in the show. But for now, we want to tell you about a special free webinar that's taking place tonight, Doctors Hospital. Speaking about COVID-19, where are we now and what's next? Here to tell us more about this from Doctors Hospital. Welcome back to the show, brand manager Alexis Burrows, who's going to be the moderator of this webinar tonight. Alexis, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
Great to be on again. It's been quite some time.
Yes, it has. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. That's funny. I've clearly been living under a rock. That's the first time I've heard that song, the COVID-19 song that you guys had played coming into the segment.
We play it very often here on this show.
I'm sure you do. So on this morning to talk about what is essentially the relaunch of our Distinguished Lecture Series. So for a long time, as you would know, because we've been on the show to talk about it many times, Doctors Hospital has ran the Distinguished Lecture Series. It used to be an in-person event, and for the last year, obviously with the pandemic, we had suspended the lecture series for a while, but we're now in the process of relaunching it as a virtual event, starting tonight with our lecture on COVID-19. So tonight we have speaking Dr. Ricardo Davis, who is a new addition to our hospital space. He's an internal medicine specialist. And we also have our clinical director of infectious disease, Dr. Charlie Bonamy. So Dr. Davis is going to be talking about where we are now. And that conversation is going to revolve around the COVID-19 vaccine. What people can expect, the nature of the vaccine, how it works, and what people who get the vaccine can expect. Just to kind of answer some questions, we know that people still have some fears and some concerns about. He's also going to be available to answer questions from the audience. And then our clinical director of infectious disease, Dr. Bonamy, is going to talk about what's next. And one of the things that we're seeing, having been in the pandemic for over a year now, one of the things that we're starting to notice is as this data comes in, we're starting to see what people are referring to as long-haul COVID-19 patients. So for most people, you get a recovery within 2 to 6 weeks is kind of the average, which is still a bit of a range, right? But there are new studies that are showing that you have some patients who are exhibiting symptoms and COVID-related symptoms for months after having had COVID-19. So he's going to talk about, some of the challenges that face those types of patients and provide some guidance for how that type of patient can navigate that long haul experience. And also he will be available to answer questions from the audience.
Do we have any idea how many people fall in that category? What percentage-wise? Do we know?
Dr. Bottom, he's going to talk about that tonight. What I was looking at in the last few days, just trying to wrap my own head around, what this looks like. The numbers show that, anywhere between 70 to 80% of COVID-19 patients have that 2 to 6 week experience. Not sure exactly if that full balance of the 20 is long haul or if there's other variations that exist in that space.
Right. Well,
so that's kind of where we are. But like I said, Dr. Bonamy would be able to speak to that a bit more tonight. So we encourage everybody to go on our Facebook page. 1 second. We encourage everyone to go on our Facebook page to sign up for the webinar this evening. If you go there, it's actually the first thing. You just search up Doctors Hospital on Facebook, and there's a link to register for the webinar, and then you'll be able to access it tonight, 7 p.m., completely free, completely live. Like I said, we'll be taking questions from the audience, so anybody who has questions regarding the vaccine, if they think they may be a long-haul patient and have some specific questions, we'll try to, if not answer it in the moment, engage them with one of our physicians to kind of take that conversation a bit further. Informative, very educational. Like I said, for the hospital, we've always been very thoughtful about how we engage in the educational space. And we're really proud to be relaunching the lecture series as a virtual event, like I said, beginning with this tonight. And then we also have another event that's coming up next week, Thursday, talking about mental health awareness, because May is also Mental Health Awareness Month.
Right.
So you'll see a lot of Doctors Hospital back in this educational space with the virtual lecture series beginning tonight.
Okay, wonderful stuff. Again, remind us if we want to take part in this tonight, what we need to be doing, how we can get the Zoom information. How does it work?
Sure. So you just go to Facebook and search Doctors Hospital, and the first thing you'll see on our page is the information regarding the webinar. You click on that link, and it'll take you to register, and you'll be all signed up for the Zoom webinar tonight.
Okay, Alexis Burrows, this is good information. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions, would love to know, and need a better understanding of where we are right now. So we'd love to get those answers. Thank you very much, and hopefully we can have those two on at some point to talk about this, because we'd love to hear more from them on this matter as well.
Oh, yeah. We'll make that happen.
Great. Sounds good. Alexis Burrows with Doctors Hospital. Again, it's a free live webinar. COVID-19, where are we now and what's next? And that's tonight at 7 p.m. All right, we're going to break for news and then be back with more. We're going to be getting back into the conversation about 4 years of the Bennett administration, where we are now and what's next. Alexis, that's what we're going to talk about. That's coming up after the break. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Forcing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. Coronavirus, you're a pest. You've got this world in a mess. Like a lethal weapon in the dark. Destruction in your path. COVID-19, COVID-19. Oh, you're such a killing machine. COVID-19, COVID-19. An enemy that remains unseen.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:22, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got high pressure that will continue to dominate the weather across the northwest and central Bahamas, while troughing near the central and southeastern islands will increase rain chances across those areas today. Beachgoers in the central and southeast Bahamas should exercise caution due to the high risk of rip currents at East Coast beaches. For the northwest Bahamas, your forecast calls for partly and mostly sunny and hot conditions with a few isolated showers and a chance of thunderstorms, mostly fair and warm with a few stray showers tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, partly cloudy and breezy this morning with increasing cloudiness, showers, and possible thunderstorm activity by this afternoon through tonight. Small craft caution in effect for the southeast Bahamas. Temperature-wise, right now we are at 81 degrees under partly cloudy skies in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will continue to linger across the area before shifting eastwards by early Thursday ahead of an approaching cold front. So for Wednesday, we're looking at partly cloudy and hot conditions with a few isolated showers and a chance of possible thunderstorms, mainly across the northwest Bahamas. Thursday, cloudy to overcast and hot with widely scattered showers and possible thunderstorms mainly across the northwest Bahamas. That's your Morning Blend weather check brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And at 8:24, time for another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. We've got some heavy traffic in your usual hotspots this morning. So we've got Carmichael Road eastbound heading towards Blue Hill Road. You can be seeing the heavy traffic there. And Blue Hill Road looking very busy this morning from St. Vincent Road all the way up to Independence Drive, especially north of Soldier Road, the northbound lanes there. You're going to be seeing that. Independence messy this morning, backed up both directions, westbound mainly, but also eastbound to the East Street, East-West Highway roundabout. We've got some Mild Butler Highway traffic well south of Fire Trail this morning, northbound, heading towards Tawny Williams-Darling Highway. And Gladstone Road also busy this morning, northbound to JFK Drive. And at that roundabout there, both directions, you're going to be seeing that traffic on JFK Drive. A lot of issues this morning. Elsewhere, we've got the six-legged roundabout looking busy. We've got West Bay Street from Saunders Beach all the way to past Arawak Key, up to Nassau Street, the eastbound lanes there. And Eastern Road from east of Fox Hill Road up to Johnson Road, the westbound lanes are very busy. Fox Hill Road northbound to Prince Charles Drive looking messy. And Bernard Road, very busy there near the schools, mainly westbound lanes. Pockets along Prince Charles and Robinson Road as well. And we're seeing some building traffic along Old Trail Road and Marathon Road in that area. So keep that in mind. Lots of traffic this morning. Good luck to you. That's your real-time traffic in your Morning Blend Traffic Alert.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
What you start, this is love, breaks my heart, made me promises, promises, you'd never keep, promises, promises, why do I believe?
Back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, Dwight Strachan along with Don Sargent, and we continue our discussion about 4 years in with the Minutes administration, how they are doing. We started earlier, and we're going to continue now with representatives from the opposition, the PLP. We've got Wayne Monroe in studio with us, and we are expecting Zane Lightburn to join us on Zoom. I don't know if we have Zane as yet. Not yet, but we're glad to have Wayne Monroe in studio with us. Good morning, sir. Great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we heard the Prime Minister yesterday talk about this. Of their 4 years, 3 of those, they had to deal with major crises. And
really?
That's what he's saying.
Okay, so
he's counting Irma as one. And we know that was devastating for Ragged Island, but...
Ragged Island has 50 people. I would think that you have major storms every administration. And he counts Irma.
That was a surprise. But we did know that Dorian and COVID would be. And Dorian was catastrophic. It was, yes, understandable. And of course, COVID has impacted the world. But
well, you can't really claim hurricanes because Dorian didn't hit New Providence when you look at disruption. It hit Abaco, it hit Grand Bahama. But the major center of commerce is New Providence. The major area where relief comes out from is New Providence.
Yeah. But when number 2 and number 3 get hit, though, that will impact you in a devastating way.
Well, it will cost more, but then a bunch of foreign white people send us a lot of money that hasn't been accounted for, eh?
Oh, dear.
And when you have a hurricane and you have rebuilding, that's actually economic activity, eh? So you can't really count that.
All right, so you say don't count that one. Only COVID, perhaps we can say.
Because of their response to it, yes.
All right, let's talk about that. We hear that a lot, especially from the opposition, that their response has made the situation worse. Is that fair to say all over the world? Not necessarily does that mean that it's good, but we don't seem to have any other ideas on how to deal with what we're facing. Is it fair to keep hitting them on their response to COVID when this is all the human race seems to know this time?
Well, how is it compared to all over the world? In Pakistan, they didn't lock down because they said they couldn't afford to lock down. In other countries that locked down, they provided actual relief to people. They didn't criminalize being poor, as they did. And so you have to compare like with like. So at the end of the day, you have a situation that the world has decided to deal with this in 2019 differently than it dealt with the last major pandemic in 1968, which was the last major pandemic that killed millions of people. So we've dealt with it as we've dealt with it. But you don't have to deal with it by decriminalizing the poor. Your traffic report, look at the amount of traffic when we have how many infections a day? And we locked down completely for that period of time, and we had how many infections? At the end of it, we had a maximum of 104 infections. How many infections did we have in April? Over 1,000?
Yeah.
So you have to gauge it. And to today, we have a curfew at 10 p.m., right? You know what that does? If my business has to close by 9 o'clock as they do it, and I lose 2 hours every day, over 14 days, over 7 days, I lose 14 hours. For a poor person in the hospitality industry, a struggling person in the hospitality industry, that's a shift and a half that they don't get to work. So it's as if there is no thinking about it other than I am in charge, I can make rules. And I have, you can see, some disastrous rules that basically punish the poor.
All right, so let's go back to last year. If you, Wayne Monroe, and the PLP were in office, and the medical professionals are telling you, we need to shut down for so many weeks to get a handle on this, because they were saying that. The professionals have been saying that, and they still would gladly say 2 more weeks of a lockdown. Well, what would you do if they're coming at you with that information?
Well, we haven't seen the medical advice. Remember now, when there was the medical, when Dr. Brennan, before he was exiled to the U.S., said that there was no medical justification for Exuma and those islands being closed. He said that after the government had said they did it based on medical advice. You can decide how you're going to approach it. The WHO says that when things are out of hand, you close down to increase your capacity. What capacity has been increased over that period? How many beds have been added after that period? How many ventilators? What oxygen capacity? That is what you're supposed to close down to do. But the PLP set out a clear COVID plan from the beginning, It wasn't engaged with. There was no engagement because the person who assumed God-like, Pharaoh-like power in the country decided he didn't have to listen to anybody because the PLP COVID committee were doctors. So at the end of the day, you have to make a choice. And the thing that has offended many people who've spoken to me is we take risk every day. And for somebody to say, I will dictate what risks you take, even if it destroys you financially, I will dictate which risks you take, is rather offensive.
Yeah. I want to get into all this a little bit later with you about rights and what's been the result of the emergency orders. We'll get to that in a little bit. We've got Zane Lightbourne with us now. Good morning, Zane. Great to have you with us.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Don. Good morning to my colleague, Mr. QC Wayne Monroe.
All right, so we're getting your assessment of the first 4 years of this administration. What's your takeaways from this?
Well, the first 4 years, as we all know, is what we have been experiencing, and we are experiencing now. It's a lack of transparency, it's a lack of honesty, it's dismissive behavior and attitude, it's a lack of care and leadership with compassion. We are very concerned in the direction our country is going. As someone who is not so young but represent a younger group, we have been asking for, on the labor part of it, meetings regularly. We have been asking on the education part of it, a more diverse, specific plan for the way forward. We've been asking for the downtime that we have had, well, the lesser numbers during those times that we expand the capacity of our medical profession, equipment, facilities, the doctors and the nurses who are paramount in leadership through this COVID crisis have been ignored and they have been mistreated. And so it's a poor reflection on leadership. It's just plain and simple. That's what we are experiencing. Other countries are opening up around us. We are constantly reminded that this is a global pandemic. And yes, I made a very excellent point. Recently, I would have heard say that all of us had the same exam. All of the countries of the world had the same exam. How did you perform? All of us had the same homework, rather. And how did you perform in this homework? And so you can compare our positioning. You can compare the minds that we have. We have very educated people in this country. We have a very educated medical professional teams. And, these people who have been sidelined, they are speaking out. And all we get is the government patting themselves on the back, beating on the tables in Parliament, congratulating themselves and saying, we have done great, we have done great, we have done great. I'm asking, who are you serving? If you are there to only pat yourself on the back and congratulate each other on such an excellent job, then who are you really serving? You're not hearing the voice of the people. You're out of touch. People are suffering. People have lost their jobs. There's no plan to get them back to work quickly. We have families affected. And this is going to be an impact that we're going to feel way down the line. The building block of every nation is education. And we have had a flawed system that responded to this crisis when it comes to educating our children. We still haven't located tens and thousands of them in a system that we probably have to go back to, or at least it's hybrid now, and we're still not addressing the deficiencies in just all of our systems.
Right. So,
and this has to do with leadership.
So do you feel there have been any successes at all? Anything that you can point to that shows that, well, at least they got that right? Do you not see anything at all?
Well, recently, I would have heard the government's attempt to, well, at least they pronounced that there's an attempt to test, to do more testing. This has been a call from the opposition. This has been a call from the PLP for a very long time that you need to test, and you need to test frequently, and also you need to test freely. We still don't have free testing, and when you have to first identify in order to treat. What we're doing now is we're going into a vaccination process where globally it's known that vaccination has a certain level of protection. We understand, but it does not protect from transmission of COVID or even catching COVID. And so that there are so few. I would have to think about the successes, because even with
I think
the
that's being a
online,
little unfair. They have had successes. Some of the successes they've had is the SBDC, helping small businesses. It made it easier for persons to get business licenses. I myself have been a part of that process of getting my business license online. They've supposedly made education free. I'm just saying they've had successes.
respectfully, that's for you to litigate. What I'm saying is,
How is that for me to litigate? These things have happened. This isn't debatable.
Well, let's examine it. They made education free. In what way?
What do you mean in what way?
What is the difference between persons who got the appropriate grades getting in and not paying at UB? That has always been the case. Hubert Ingram introduced
no, it's been
that.
the case if you got on the bursary, which was a 3.0, and I think 3 BGCSEs, and C and above, including math and English.
I went to.
It did go lower. It was lowered.
So the difference is they lowered the grade at which you got it.
The point of it was to make it more accessible. I'm not cheerleading the government. I'm just saying.
I just wanted to find out, because the thing that troubled me is there were complaints from people in the constituency I canvass about increasing tuition rates, and it actually made it more expensive for some folk who weren't bright enough or didn't apply themselves enough in school to get that passing mark. When I went to university in the UK, where they did education for free, they sought to encourage people to take it up. So you will always get the stellar student who can get the free rides. The mark of a good education policy for free education is, if you go base, you have to capture people who might not have been so attentive in school, who would otherwise fall through the cracks. So if they reduce the age, that's a good thing. If they reduce the grade, that's a good thing. Let's give them that.
Put in place programs and through the Ministry of National Security for basically persons who, like you said, did slip through the cracks. Now, how long is this process going to go on? Is this going to survive another administration? I don't know. But I'm not cheerleading them. All I'm saying is they have done some things that are good.
Okay, what's the programs by the Ministry of National Security? Because I know they stopped Safe Bahamas.
I think it's called the Revive program.
Okay, what exactly are the details, though?
If success, how do you measure success, Don? Because you saying they did some things good is different than success. How do you measure success? Because when you talk about they had a successful small business development plan, yes, it reached some people. I know some small business persons in my constituency now who never had the opportunity, it wasn't expanded to them, and they want the opportunity extended to them. I know that the housing program,
what's the reason why it wasn't extended, though?
Struggling. And many people who see these things right in their face, you're touting success. Yes, they have done some good things, and that wasn't all just the government.
Okay,
some people doing some good things who are helping out with feeding programs when people need food. How do you measure success? Because you're saying they did some successful things. So name the successful thing and tell me how you measure that.
A texter who sent in, they have a list here. They have a list. So they mentioned the free tertiary education as well. The establishment of the SBDC to assist small and medium businesses. The largest social assistance endeavor ever launched in the nation's history. I guess that's, what is that, pandemic related?
No, understanding that collecting national insurance benefits that you're entitled to. Isn't the government doing anything than a government agency giving you money that you're entitled to after the government puts you out of work?
Okay, and then this one is the Economic Empowerment Zone giving concessions to over-the-hill communities.
What does that entail? That entails giving real property tax break, VAT breaks, that basically helps Kelly's, Super Value, Tops, big businesses over the hill.
But it also helps some people who own some land in the area as well. So, I mean,
with small businesses in the inner city has a building on it that qualifies for real property tax.
We've heard some success stories. We've had some guests on who said that really helped them. They were able to expand their business. They were able to increase the size of the property. And so there are a few people, maybe we don't hear enough of them, but some people say that did help them. So, I mean, that's a success
overall,
there. No?
Overall,
The real property tax breaks help small businesses in the inner city when the large. So you're helping people who own land. So you're not helping. You're not helping a small business who is renting.
Right? There are a lot of people that took advantage of the tax forgiveness policy under the Christie administration, which I thought was an excellent program. Of course, you're going to have policies in place that don't affect everybody the exact same way. There will be people, unfortunately, that get disadvantaged or don't get to take advantage of these things. But that doesn't disqualify or make something not good. It has helped Bahamians.
Well, of course. But public policy works like this.
Good and successful. I think that when we look at our rating in terms of where
I'm bringing all this up,
right?
Just hold on for a second. I'm bringing all this up because a lot of the same criticisms that I'm hearing, and again, I'm not defending anybody, but a lot of the same criticisms I'm hearing, I've heard the same thing about the Christie administration. I've heard the same thing with the Ingram administration. I've heard the same thing with the first Christie administration and the second Ingram administration over and over again from persons who are in opposition. Then when they get in government, the opposition say the exact same things about them. We keep talking about these things about public policy. I don't ever hear anything about the construction of institutions, the strengthening of institutions in this country. We make a lot of promises.
But Don, that's the point I just made about the medical
but that's what I'm saying.
Let's get everyone one at a time.
If I might, the difference is everybody helps somebody. When you spend money, you help somebody. The examination is who have you helped? So when you spend money that helps the rich and the powerful, and Dr. Minnis has admitted that that's who he has helped in this administration, and so he's promising to help the poor in the next administration, you have helped some. Every institution you can look at in this Bahamas was created by the PLP. We are the party that creates institutions. The government has taken credit for the overflight agreement that was settled by the PLP, only we intended to benefit Bahamas Air and Bahamian aircraft by exempting them from payment. And they finalized it and didn't exempt them. So of course, if you spend money, you're going to benefit somebody. The test of policy is who do you benefit most? And that's really the test for it. If you benefit most people who own property, who have money, you will benefit them. And some people say that the purpose of that is then wealth trickles down, almost like urine. So you can choose to benefit the rich and the powerful, or you can choose in a situation to look and say, in the inner city, I have a bunch of small businesses that aren't owned by wealthy people, that aren't owned by people who already have resources. Let me see what I can do for them. And who are you helping? So you will help somebody. Everything you do will help somebody. The question is, what is your target audience?
Mm-hmm. All right, so I guess that's going to be your response. We're getting a text about that. This will be your response to this person who's saying this is a great thing they've done, the initiative, the housing initiative for young professionals. You're going to say
how many houses were built?
None as yet, but I mean that's a project that's about to take off.
What they're saying is you can get this land for $50,000. You have to design and build your house within 2 years. There's a certain profile of persons who will be able to accomplish that, and the public will have to decide how many people can accomplish that. You look at how much money we will be spending in terms of the value of the property, the infrastructure, and then you grade it out over how many people you benefit with that sum of money in terms of what you're going to recover, and then you will determine who you've decided to spend your money on. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm grateful if they determine to give my children the ability to buy nice lots and build nice homes. I thank him very much, but I would much prefer, if you have to benefit somebody, I can benefit my children because I have means. Please go and help somebody's children who does not have means. You're talking about helping young professionals. If you want to help young professionals, cause more land to be introduced into the market, and the price will fall.
Well, isn't that what's happening here? Isn't that basically what they're doing?
Isn't that
right
what
now,
literally
it's
happening
very
to Michael with $15,000 lots?
right.
No.
That's not the same thing.
No, how many lots are those?
It's obviously a limited.
It's for the chosen few and for the rest of the young professionals.
I don't think
well,
the $15,000
right.
lots were for specifically young professionals. I think anybody could have applied for them.
Anyone working who fits the criteria, but it's a start, though. Is it not a start? I mean, maybe
what
other
you
things
have
to come.
is this: you have different housing policies. A housing policy that says you build houses goes like this: if you, an individual, goes to a contractor and contract for a home, you will have certain power. If I, the government, goes to that same contractor and contract for 10 homes, I can demand a lower price. If you, the individual, goes to a contractor who messes up your house, you only have a certain ability to pressure him. If me, the government, goes to him and say, fix this house or you get no more, it's a different narrative altogether. Up until this time, successive governments have determined to use their buying power to get lower price homes constructed and have the ability to bully people. And so at the end of the day, that will be the choice that people will face. Good luck with that. You're going to give me some clients when these contractors do not perform. Because you will not have
We've had that in the past, though, where contractors who built stuff for government had shoddy craftsmanship.
And
I got even at instances where I worked as a subcontractor and I went in some of these homes and I was shocked at the craftsmanship that was inside some of these homes.
And
what I'm saying is, like, this isn't anything new.
And the difference is that the government can withdraw from that contractor the ability to
But
work.
that didn't happen in many cases. And you have a lot of people still living in these homes with uneven foundations. Things are put in place in the houses properly. The plumbing isn't done properly en masse. This isn't a remote case.
That is the point that address those things. That's the point my colleague is making. Like, there are people who are really feeling the impact, not of just COVID, but poverty on a level that we shouldn't in this country. On a level that we shouldn't in a country that has 350, 400,000 people. We are 60 miles at the nearest point, 50 or 60 miles from the most powerful nation on the planet. We have a very successful tourism product that is known regionally, probably top-notch tourism product. We haven't expanded or done anything major in this particular term that impacts that positively, and we are blaming everything on COVID that just came about, and that doesn't impact a lot of these legislations that were being passed during this time and before this time, where all of the things that impact the small man are put on the back burner. There is enough of that. How can we tout success and give excuses and also just highlight some of these minor achievements that impact only a select few as success? That is why our country is stifled. We need to listen to the voice of the people. And if it's not reaching down to the levels where it impacts the regular family person, the poor, that this government said they're going to deal with next term, then how do you tout success? Just what we're doing, where we are making these statements, touting these one or two minimal items that impact a very few people that we are saying we're successful. We need to take a visit to some of these areas. We need to take a visit and assess the middle-class families in this country who cannot afford housing, who cannot afford to pay these high stamp tax, the 12% VAT on everything. We need to assess what we are doing and stop patting ourselves on the back and calling it success.
Okay, Zane, that's a
Because
great
it's not.
point. That's a great point, and we want to talk about the achievements or lack thereof of this administration. But there are going to be some who are listening to this and say, "Well, that sounds great, but how much success did the previous PLP administration have doing exactly what you're talking about, the Christie administration? How
Dwight,
successful were they?"
Dwight, you're going to find within 5 years.
Wait, let me get.
Be right back here having the same conversation, talking about the next administration.
Well, I'm not. I don't think that's cynical. Everybody asks for a chance for 5 years to do what they promised they're going to do. And
We
have
said that
those
for
5
20 years.
The entire year. Hold on. Everybody had 5 years. Back to the people after 5 years. And if during your time you promise that you can do it, during your time, then get the work. You cannot spend your time blaming previous administrations, as we often do. You get a free pass because you're busy. This group gets a free pass from some persons because they're busy blaming the previous administration. I've heard about the previous administration, the Christie administration, from day one that this government came in, and they're still doing it, and you're letting them and you're repeating it and echoing it and letting them get away with it.
Right. Okay. So that's your point. So what I'm saying, hold on, Don, 1 second. So what I'm saying is, have previous administrations been able to do what you're saying, though, to get to the root of the problems and tackle it from the ground, as opposed to the special interest groups? We seem to be having this problem for decades now.
Well,
what can get us out of this rut that we're in?
But people always talk about a rut. The PLP guided us to independence in 1970. In 1973, I was born in 1968. To give you some context, so you have a generation who's very impatient. I understand that completely. Who wants everything now? You will chart what has happened in the last Christie administration. What did we do? BAMSI was set up. That's an institution. We decided that you have to protect our borders. Sandy Bottom came. That was a program. We continued to build houses for people to live in. Not to say, get some land, knock yourself out. If you're getting problems with the bank, that's your business. You have 2 years to build. We, in fact, looked at the people who were struggling, and we said, you know what, you have to do something with dignity. So you have to issue debit cards instead of having to be put to shame to get social benefits. We have a circumstance where you looked at what was happening, and we determined that you act to benefit people. And that is what was done. Where there was a failure, and a major failure, was when Prime Minister Christie listened to the opposition instead of going ahead and fully launching NHI, stopped and talked about, let's look at it again. That's an acknowledged failure. NHI is an institution. So when people think about this country, look at the institutions that drive it, that you depend on. Look at UB. That was something done in the last administration, from a college to a university. All of these things that we talk about flippantly, that we criticize, whether they're working well or not, they were created by a PLP government. Now, the challenge is always to improve your institutions, but the only persons driving institutions is a PLP government. And that is what happens. And I heard laughingly last night on another program, the F&M says they're good at execution. So you look at just about everything they have done in this term, and you will find what happened was, it's like a home. The PLP went, found the land, found the designer, did all the hard work to get the mortgage, to do the title search. Government changes, the people come in, find a ready-made thing, and still take 4 years to act on a ready-made situation. The Bahamian public need to be very clear when they look at these things. Because the only thing the F&M does is come at the end, because from 2002 we've had the five and out situation. Mm-hmm. At the end of a PLP administration, after recovering from bad fiscal situations, you put plans in place, you're at the point of execution, the government changes, and then this party comes in and takes credit. So for instance, on Safe Bahamas, We had it at the point where every inner city was supposed to get a community center. This crew of fellas decided that that wasn't important, that it wasn't something that they wanted to proceed with. And so the challenge for the young, because independence happened in my lifetime. I was not born a Bahamian. I was born a British subject in 1968, became a Bahamian in 1973. I have lived and I have witnessed the PLP building this country. It is unfortunate that persons who are much younger than I don't really see that. Bob Marley has a lyric that says, if you don't know your past, you don't know your future. Mm-hmm. I would recommend, and it's a failing perhaps of the PLP, of not teaching us our history. But when we used to do it, they used to say, why you all show roots every time? Why you want to remind black people that they were in slavery? Why you want to remind black people that we had apartheid in the Bahamas? Why do you want to teach our history? You need to teach your history as the Jewish people do, so that your younger generation has context. Because when I hear younger people talking about the two parties are the same, I say, well, how is that possible? And one of the parties created all of the institutions, since we like to talk about institutions.
Well, all right, so we got some more messages from folks, and of course I can agree with this one. One of the first was address the dump fire situation, which is greatly improved. We must hand that to them, right?
You mean that people stop setting fires on
the dump? Is that what it was? Well, we don't have the nightmare situation that we used to have. At least that, and others pointing to the mass digitization of government services that has greatly improved over the past few years. And but this is still a challenge, freedom of information, although bills have been passed.
The act was passed from 2017.
Right.
Part of it was brought into force. All the rest of it had needed to be brought into force was the minister to sign and say, I bring this into force. We paid $6 to $9 million to train public servants in 2018. After that, all it took was to sign an appointed day notice. That's something else the PLP left done, finished, in the wrapper. Then the government changed. And this crew didn't like that, so they didn't bring it into effect.
All right, we got a break. Who's sticking around? Don, you have to leave us, unfortunately. Is that right?
Yes, unfortunately, Dwight.
All right, so hopefully Wayne Monroe and Zane Lightburn are going to stick around with us. We're going to look closer at the economy and other issues, including our rights during this pandemic period and how that's been handled by the government. We're going to get into all of that coming up. This is Morning Blend, stay tuned for Morning Blend Business.
Things we did, you can't finish what you start. This is love, it breaks my heart. You made me promises, never keep. Promises. Why do I believe all of your promises?
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Gran, it was good to see you, but we've got to get home.
Yep, we've got to let the dog out.
Speaking of dogs, you won't believe who I saw the other day.
Who?
Honey.
Remember Anton, Jeanette's oldest boy? The one with the dogs.
With local claims managers, we pay your motor claims fast. We're like a goodbye at your granny's that doesn't take 30 minutes.
We really got to get going.
So soon?
CG Atlantic Agents. Insurance, health, pensions, life. good like that. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
You invest in your children, your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
The best place to get a new iPhone is at BTC. Make the iPhone 12 mini yours for just $199. That's big savings to go with our sweet postpaid value of unlimited local calls, international minutes, roaming data and minutes, plus all the data you need. Stream, share, and stay connected on the best LTE network when you switch to BTC. Visit a store to sign up today and get the iPhone 12 mini for just $199. Conditions apply.
RBC has been growing with the Bahamas for over 110 years with new ways to bank better. We are committed to deepening our relationship with existing clients and forging new ones in the future with new products and services and investment in the community, youth, and education initiatives. We are here to help you grow.
We're here to help you flourish. We're RBC.
RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Side and out. Excludes airport locations.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best.
Believe in best.
Go cashless with CIBC First Caribbean and enjoy peace of mind when you pair your Visa debit or credit card with online banking and the mobile app. Simply freeze your card if lost or stolen to block any unwanted transactions. It's that easy and secure. Visit CIBCFCIB.com for more information. Go cashless with CIBC First Caribbean.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk. All day. The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own, necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. We continue our discussion about 4 years of the Mints administration. We're talking with the opposition, talking with Wayne Monroe and Zane Lightboard. We're going to look at the economy in this hour and more issues of concern. That's coming up. But first, it's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. In your morning business report, Minister of State for Finance Kwesi Thompson touting the launch of the government's My Gateway platform, a rebranding of the online government service portal. which went live earlier this year as a major milestone, he says, in supporting the economic development. The platform allows residents to apply and pay for driver's licenses and renewals, as well as birth, marriage, and death certificates online. Since the pilot was launched in February, Thompson says in excess of 12,000 people visited the online portal and more than 5,100 Bahamians have registered. He said 9 new government services are expected to be made available on mygateway.gov, including applying for a new post office box rental, a housing service lot, a notary license renewal, and a new notary public license, among other things. Read more about it in today's Guardian Business section. Overseas, as strict lockdowns are loosened across Europe and many EU citizens dream about holidays in the sun, the 27-nation bloc has yet to agree on how to quickly implement a virus certificate scheme to boost summer travel and tourism. European affairs ministers gathering today in Brussels to assess progress in discussions with European lawmakers. A deal between the Parliament and EU countries is required in May to ensure the system will be up and running by the end of June. But several sticking points remain. When a proponent said coronavirus certificates would be given to EU residents who can prove that they have been vaccinated or those who tested negative for the virus or proof they recovered from it. EU lawmakers and nations agree on that, but the Parliament insists that COVID-19 certificates should be enough to allow EU citizens to move about freely and that EU countries shouldn't be allowed to impose extra restrictions on certificate holders, such as quarantines, tests, or self-isolation measures. Closer to home in your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Monday. Your market movers, APD Limited moving 115 shares, closing at 32.12, unchanged. Commonwealth Bank moving 3,200, down 2 cents to 2.93. Consolidated Water up 3 cents to 2.40. Emera Incorporated up 5 cents to 11.69. The BISX All-Share Index closing at 1,951.65, down 2.62. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations. You're listening to Morning Blend Business. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook us, Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Girl, Junior just showed me Bella Boy in his phone.
What you mean? He take picture of that good-for-nothing boy?
Shh, you don't want Bella here. You say that. You know she always say that's my good child.
So what he doing?
He's looking for him. He on their wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send picture direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas. Then pick install and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons?
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to get this app so police can tell us right away when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried the other day, and when I hear Junior and his boys talking about where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Hello, sir. Your credit card bill is due. Hello, sir. It's time for your monthly loan payment. Tired of creditors pounding at your door? Sign up for a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank and consolidate your debt into one low monthly payment. What's more, you will also earn interest on a built-in savings account. The pandemic has curbed many freedoms, but at Fidelity, our focus is to help regain your financial freedom. Visit a branch or speak to a Fidelity Bank at 356-7764. COVID safety measures in place at all branches. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
We are back here with Morning Blend Business. On this Tuesday morning, Dwight Strachan with you, and we continue with our guests from our previous show and Zane Lightburn. We are talking about where we are 4 years into the Minutes administration, and we're going to bring it home to the economy and where that is before we get back into some of the other issues. And gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking around. So let's talk about it. The fiscal snapshot, the first 9 months of this fiscal year, released last week. Your deputy leader, Chester Cooper, saying that this is a sign of major storm clouds ahead. Of course, we all know this, but let's talk more about it. Just again, with COVID and Dorian, I mean, is there anything that could have been done differently? I mean, isn't this just, as we've been calling it, the twin demics? Basically, this is a terrible 1-2 punch that we received. Was it going to be any different had it been a PLP administration that had this is, or are we missing a big picture here?
Dorian was in September 2019, correct?
Mm-hmm.
COVID was set to arrive on our shores on February 2020. What was their performance before that? And so trying to cloak everything in the supposedly they were at that point already.
Well, some would say we weren't getting any more downgrades. We weren't. We were fewer blacklists, even though that was always hovering over the head, and that was a sign that there was something improving.
Well, all of that was predicated on Bahama's opening, which is what the downgrades always mentioned in any event. And if they're taking credit for Bahama, that's an amazing thing because they were supposed to sell it, according to them, when the government changed. They were borrowing money like drunken sailors. Before 2019, which was Dorian, they got, according to them, amazing foreign support after Dorian that should have permitted them, if they had followed the line of every other government in reaction to a storm, there would have been aggressive rebuild in Grand Bahama, aggressive rebuild in Abaco. All of that would have fueled economic activity. And then COVID came in, and in his great wisdom, he decided to completely shut down the Bahamas on the second positive case, and to keep it shut down restrictively until July, at which point we had 104, I think, total infections. So the question of whether you could have done it differently, as the PLP suggested, you had a hard lockdown for, I think it was 2 weeks or 4 weeks max. You moved to free testing, and you would have been able to have some sort of economic activity. That did not happen, so that exacerbated what happened. When they didn't follow the suggestions, then of course, when we reopened, things slid, and then the man just got enamored with being able to tell you can't go on the beach, when you must be home, you can't bring a casket in a church, a lot of other things that impacted economic activity, unnecessarily so. I'll give you an example. In my profession, they did something silly like saying I think it was only 2 partners and a total of, I think it was 10 lawyers can be in office, right? Now, my firm has exactly 10 lawyers. We're in a building a story and a half. Graham Thompson has many, many, many more lawyers. They occupy a 4-story building. And they could only have in the same amount of lawyers as Monroe and Associates. Now, there is no health justification for that, and that actually has a financial impact. So when you examine what they did, looking at our actual circumstances, just as we have been saying, they exacerbated the problem. Explain to me now why you can dine indoor at a hotel, but you can't dine indoor at a native restaurant. Explain to me why you determined to close down Arawak Key and Potter's Key. And if you talk about, Bahamian will gather, people gather in the bars and restaurants at the hotels anywhere else. To talk about you're not going to enforce the law as an excuse to make silly laws and to make more laws is really mind-boggling, because if you couldn't enforce the first ones, how are you going to enforce the second ones? And so they have done things that exacerbated the problem in how they chose to go about doing it. And we had a hard, complete lockdown over 2 cases, over a period that the cases never exceeded, I think it was 104 cases. And now, lo and behold, we can function with hundreds of cases a week without a hard lockdown in an economic circumstance that you have traffic, as you gave on your traffic report, thick traffic.
Do you think that was because there was so much global uncertainty about what this disease was? Now that we know more, that in many ways we can manage it better because of time and education? Didn't that play a role at all?
When it came to us in February, the Minister of Health had said it wasn't a matter of if COVID came to the Bahamas, but a matter of when. So when you talk about it's not if or when, that's the time to arm yourself. And the question is, what did they do over that period when you assess what they did? So it's like saying, Monroe, the people come in to rob your house, to break in your house. And I say, okay, I'm not going to worry to do anything at all.
Until you see one of them.
And then you create an emergency situation by your failure to act timorously to put things in place. And that's the reality of what happened. And from the beginning of COVID, they were telling us exactly about how it spread and all the rest of that. I'm not sure what new we know now. Some of the stuff supposedly that we know now, we've always known. They talk about variants, they talk about, they just changed the rules. That they always told us it was. It is spread the same way that they've always told us it was spread. The mechanics of how it affected you were the same. So this thing about you shut down because you don't know what you're dealing with just really doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah.
One of the main places people were being infected were at work and at home. And so they permitted you to go to work and then go home. So you couldn't understand the logic of it.
Zane?
Also on that point, there was a clear indication that some of our citizens were living under different standards than others by the policies put in place. The restrictions were limiting a group of people on one side of the island, and it wasn't the same. So this created a sense of unfairness, not a sense of, but actually unfairness, and it also exposed that the government's people time was for the other people and not for us. What we would have done differently is we would have provided testing free of charge, where we could have had persons at less of an expense travel to the family islands where there were no COVID cases. And we would have expanded those islands, the economy of those islands, because we would have allowed people to move about until we had a reason to put restrictions on them. That it was totally unfair. We felt it. Businesses were shut down unnecessarily, in many cases for extended periods of time, and the doctors were saying that they couldn't answer as cases were shut down. We would have eliminated the restrictions based on science. And that is what I think everyone was calling for. Where is the science? You're saying that it's based on science, but your doctors are saying, well, we don't know what you're talking about. So whose science are these restrictions based on? What would have also happened, to answer your question, is the strengthening in the isolation protocols in the clinics and hospitals, because you cannot have the rest of your, let me put it this way, other sicknesses didn't stop because of COVID, and we're aware of that. As a matter of fact, COVID caused many of those other ills that we are dealing with or were dealing with, caused them to really expand beyond the capacity of the clinics and hospitals in their present state. And so why not address our clinics, our hospitals, equip nurses, make sure that they're being paid, they're being fed. These are people who have families also and who are taking care of your sick people during a health crisis. We had the largest unrest of medical professionals that I know in the history of this country during a pandemic. How is that okay? That you have nurses saying, you're ignoring us. You have doctors saying, you're ignoring us. We are your medical professionals. Where was the science if you were saying that your decisions were based on science? Show us the science, because that has not been consistent.
Yeah.
And you're making us feel like fools, or you think that your answer is based on science when you're actually showing no science, or the science is showing the opposite of what you're saying. And this is why there's a lot of frustration in the country, because it was never clearly articulated. The media, like yourselves, were being ignored, dismissed, and people never got a full understanding or appreciation that you were actually doing anything based on science. Your public education was not as extensive as it should have been to learn how to live in a COVID environment, open safely, conduct business, and we'll wait, see, treat, test whilst you're doing this so that you can still function. Your economy can still function. The domestic economy, when you locked us down internationally, the domestic economy never saw any growth because you ignored the domestic economy. You actually damage and stifle to a point where there is no repair. So for some businesses, they will never open again, and unnecessarily so.
Yeah.
The family islands that were looking for justification never got it. You made it more expensive to travel to the family islands by these high price of testing, and people couldn't see their families do regular business. It just was a disastrous approach. And that is what people complained about. Listen to your people.
So that's the question. So what will it take to get, and it is true what you're saying, people are done, some businesses are done and will never come back. But for those that are there, still here with us, what can be done to get things back on track now? What would you do? Would you recommend?
Allow these businesses to open safely. Equip them if they can't equip themselves. Help and assist them. You know, there are governments that are actually emulating some of the first world countries. Then emulate what they do straight across the board. Provide checks to people. Put money in the hands of the people in your domestic economy so that they can pump the money back in the economy and money can circulate. Knowing that you have already increased VAT on them, surprisingly, to your own people and the people, some people who we were told even sit in cabinet. Knowing that you have increased taxes on people, go back to Parliament and just reverse some more taxes on some of the vital areas so that people can afford to function. These businesses, they want an answer to who will deal with them.
But can we afford that? Can we afford to reduce at this point with the dire straits that we are in? I mean, they're in a very tough position.
Well, in the PLP economic plan, one thing that is said that people don't, I think, appreciate is that there's a plan to reduce VAT from 14% to 10%. Mm-hmm. And they say,
so you temporarily, right?
Well, it's from 12 to 10. And you will do that for a period and then you will evaluate. Mm-hmm. The reason is when it was increased from 7.5 to 12, the yield of it wasn't what was expected, because everyone knows in taxation you could increase tax to a point that the returns reduce. And so that's an assessment that 10% may be about right. Mm-hmm. Now, the reality of it is when you reduce VAT by 10% to 10%, you give everyone, I believe, it's 1 week's pay if they were to salary on VATable goods. So they'll net an additional 1 week's pay just by the government reducing VAT from 12 to 10%.
I still never got an acceptable answer as to why not go back to 7.5 then.
Well, because you will have to now determine once you go to 10, depending on what you see there,
then you might decide to do that. Okay.
And so it's just being cautious. The starting point that we say is we don't know what you will meet. So apart from saying you will do that, you will be taking stock of how, because they always leave the economy in a mess when they leave. The last time
they say that about you all too, though.
But that was inaccurate. That's because they said they couldn't find $50 million that was right there. If you can't count, you'd say that. But Dr. Minnis admitted when they left office that the economy was in a wheelchair when the last administration took over. When this administration took over, they had a broader taxation-based VAT. They had money rolling in. They came and they said they couldn't find this money. And then they came and said they couldn't find 40 or 50 million, which was just ridiculous. And then they said they admitted all this VAT money that they claim had been stolen really hadn't been stolen at all. So how is it that they claim the economy was in a bad state is unfathomable, other than if you tell a big lie and you tell it often enough and people don't question you, it could become the truth. And the truth is they met the economy in much better shape that they had left it. So the reality is that if you give people 1 week's more pay, which is reducing by 2%, will happen, a vast majority of the people will then have more money to patronize businesses. A big reason that it's now tough for everyone, and in my profession as well, we've had law firms downsizing, is because you could be available for business, but if your customers don't have the resources to spend, you're not going to have business. So just reflect on a reduction as the PLP commits to. Will give everyone 1 week's extra pay. It's as if you get 1 week's raise simply by reducing that.
But if it doesn't yield the results that you're hoping, what then? And will we need to look at other taxation reforms? I mean, that's
the first and the other thing that is committed to being done right away is when the FNM came into power, you could tell whose people, what set of people time it was. There was a revenue enhancement unit, which was really about collecting tax from the people who were avoiding it, generally the rich, right? They dismantled that. And so you then lost, I think they said, millions of dollars a month that was detecting and bringing in. When you reestablish it, there's going to be bad news for those people who benefited from the demolition of the revenue enhancement unit, because your business is going to be back under scrutiny. We're not talking about the little small man. We're talking about the big businesses who used to rape the tax system by not paying. And so that is something that is an enhancement of revenue without introducing new taxes. The PLP commits to say, if you're a foreigner, you can't owe us real property tax, my brother. If you get these big houses and you're rich, and you around here flaunting, you can't owe us money, my brother. It shouldn't be the case. And just collect it. So you will find in the PLP economic plan little simple things like that may not first occur to you, but when you say, oh yeah, you stop people going after big tax dodgers. Why did you, that unit? Well, we're going to put it back in place. We're going to go after big tax dodgers, and we anticipate that we're going to have the same yields that we were having before you took it apart.
Right.
And yes, if you're foreign, how can you owe us real property tax? Why should we have grace and mercy on you? We may have grace and mercy on our own people, but why should we have grace and mercy on you?
Right. All right, let's get to Grand Bahama and Abaco, two devastated as a result of Dorian, but Grand Bahama was in a terrible state before that. Both much worse off than they've been in a long time. What needs to be done there? What can be done? We've been asking about Grand Bahama for years. Abaco had seemed to be on the right path before this, but now it's a different story. What do we do?
There's a major housing program that needs to take place on those islands because there is a lack of adequate homes and even a lack of rental spaces for people to go live and help rebuild, especially specifically, let's go to Abaco. Abaco Abaco's response, or the response to Dorian on that island, has been disastrous. Thank God for our citizens who did their own private work. Thank God for the international community who would have come in and either donated or helped to do some rebuilding, because the response of the government was left wanting. The people of Abaco, they want to go home. A lot of them are displaced presently, and at this point, each one of those families need to be identified, their status identified in terms of their insurance, where that is, and help the process along. If they have insurance, if they don't, find the resources to help these people where they can sustain themselves. The island itself had a very, very robust economy. And if those people can be home, they can go back to their fishing or whatever other industries, they can make that economy robust again, because they did not depend on government in a lot of instances to get where they were. They were very resilient people. They are very resilient people. And I think that the approach that the government has had in dealing with it was very slow. It was uncertain. You have a next hurricane season bearing down on us, and there is still no real plan going forward on how do we address what we are faced with now and prepare what we expect or what could possibly happen later. Grand Bahama, that is a situation that started before Dorian. Grand Bahama was promised many things and has 5 members of parliament in this government, including, I think, 4 cabinet, or maybe 4 cabinet members. Grand Bahama also had the deputy prime minister and minister of finance. Everything that was halted in Grand Bahama or was not addressed in a timely manner left them faced now with a Dorian and COVID, because they did nothing before Dorian and COVID. And as Wayne reminded us, Dorian and COVID did not come around until 2019 and 2020. What was done before then? We need to take a real look, real assessment, and not go back to this patting ourselves on the back, which they're doing now. I would not do that. I would not taunt success during this period. I would actually examine exactly where we are in our national development plan and do your tweaking there. Inject that economy with the necessary finances. There's high joblessness and people are leaving their homes. There is a rent. A lot of people don't own homes and they rent. And so what we have to do is work, and this is the intention of the PLP government. The new government will work with tenants and landlords and reschedule payments, because you have to be able to give these landlords assurances that their mortgages are going to be paid. In this present situation with people not working, it is not just going to disappear. People are not going to be able to pay rent. You now have 2 families affected in every single case.
But how are we going to do that? We're going to borrow more money to do this? I mean, how?
Well,
we have to assess where is the money that we have borrowed so far. If we have borrowed an average of $2 billion, Dwight, $2 billion every year since this government came into power, where is that money?
Well, salaries and social assistance programs and all the things.
It doesn't actually.
It doesn't add up?
It doesn't add up to that. But let me say this, Dwight. A lot of savings are found in simply this. As I said, when this government came into power, we're in a hurricane zone. We had quite an efficient system of dealing with hurricanes. It was introduced actually by Hubert Ingram. It was improved by following administrations. This government has seen fit to abandon it because they didn't use it for Dorian. And they've introduced now new bureaucracy. introduce new bureaucracy, you introduce new people, you introduce more cost in doing what we had a system rated to do, having been shown to have been done successfully on, for instance, a Category 5 storm that had passed through and had hit New Providence at some point. And so when you talk about Abaco and Grand Bahama, these fellas were so out of their depth that they couldn't use the system that had been used successfully for decades to deal with storms. And then when two prime ministers who had used the system previously offered to assist in a manner that would have been completely nonpartisan, because you couldn't say that you were playing favorites because you had somebody from the thing, they refused it, and they created a bureaucracy. They created what I call a ministry of disaster, because that's what it is. What have they done? How many people have they effectively helped? You hear it all of the time. They were so bad, they had no plan to deal with the dead.
All right. We have people waiting. We're going to get call us back. We'll get you in 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to your calls. We'll get to you more of your text messages. And we have more to talk about in our final few minutes with Wayne Monroe and Zane Lightbourne here on Morning Blend Business as we talk about the Minutes administration's 4 years. 4 years in office, first 4 years. This is Morning Blend Business. Stay with us.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Beulah, gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
And we've got your final look at weather for this morning, brought to you by someone soon for this segment. This is open for you to sponsor, folks. Okay, so high pressure will continue to dominate the weather across the northwest and central Bahamas, while troughing near the central and southeastern islands will increase rain chances across those areas today. Beachgoers in the central and southeast Bahamas should exercise caution due to the high risk of rip currents at east coast beaches. For today, for the northwest Bahamas, look for partly to mostly sunny and hot conditions with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms, becoming mostly fair and warm with a few stray showers tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, partly cloudy and breezy this morning with increasing cloudiness, showers, and thunderstorm activity this afternoon through tonight. High temperatures getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will continue to linger across the eastwards by early Thursday ahead of an approaching cold front, which by Wednesday we're going to see partly cloudy and hot conditions and a few isolated showers and the chance of possible thunderstorms, mainly across the northwest Bahamas. Thursday, cloudy to overcast and hot with widely scattered showers and possible thunderstorms across mainly the northwest Bahamas. That's your morning blend weather check.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
So I'll settle for one day to believe in you. Tell me lies. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies. Oh no, no, you can't disguise.
We are back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, along with my guests this morning, Wayne Monroe and Zane Lightbourne with the PLP. We are discussing the Minns administration's first 4 years in office. This hour, we've been focusing more on the economy and economic issues there, but we can talk about everything that we can in the time that's remaining. We've got a lot of calls. Let's take these very quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Dwight. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Excellent. Good morning, Wayne Monroe, QC, and Zian and Rico.
Good morning.
Okay, on and Yamakro. I just wanted to say to you all and to the nation, good morning to the nation, that I am extremely proud of you all. I feel as though you all have showed and demonstrated compassion, love, and fight for the middle class, struggling and poor Bahamians in our country. And I am looking forward to you all going into Parliament and continuing that fight on behalf of all Bahamians and right-sizing our economy from the failed FNM government and all of this failure that they've forced down our throats, inclusive of all the taxes and increase in services over the last 4 years. Excuse. They didn't sign up for that, but the PLP will deliver. Thank you for the opportunity, Dwight. Continue the great work, Wayne Monroe and Zian and Rico. I am proud of you all. God bless.
It's bordering on commercial there. It's a commercial I think we have to send. Who do we send the bill to, Wayne Monroe? Who do we send that? Good morning.
I think the gentleman is honest, though. Like,
well, okay. All right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, I really appreciate the honesty in both of your guests today. However, when they speak about the Bahamian people, and I'm making the statement to the Bahamian. Hello, am I there?
Yeah, we can hear you. Turn on your radio. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me just put my radio down a little bit. Okay. The government is the Bahamian people government. The opposition, official opposition, is the Bahamian people. What the Bahamian people are saying to whether you're the government or the opposition, consider our time. Consider our time that we spent just listening to you. You know what I mean? That's how we vote for these people.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. All right. So I want to get your views on this. Wayne Monroe, we were talking about this off air, but it comes up often, especially in the last few years, that perhaps it's the system that is holding this country back, that's not working here, that we need to tweak it, we need to fix it, we need to change it totally, some would say. Want to get your views on that. What is it? Is it the people or is it the system that's put us in the place where we are right now?
Well, any system that you design depends on human actors to work. So if you staff any endeavor with the wrong set of people, you get the wrong set of results. Mm-hmm. We have a system where it's not presidential. We have a public service that's supposed to be ubiquitous and serve both whoever's in government. And we have a system that's rated where the prime minister is supposed to be first amongst equals, which means that he isn't supposed to be a pharaoh. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have people who are staffing the system who do not understand that, then you will have a problem. And it's been, I think, magnified in this government more than any other, where it is quite clear that the incoming prime minister at that time, Dr. Hubert Minnis, didn't regard his ministers as equal to him. Wow. In fact, he announced he's not going to take any portfolio because he needs to be their school teachers. And I can tell you this, if I was somebody he was offering a job to or was a minister, it would have been the shortest lived career for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you let a man, in effect, say that to you, he's treating you as a child. When our system have you being equal to him, it just went downhill from there. Now, any system that you put in place, if the actors do not understand what their role is, then you're going to have a problem. The one thing that I can say is I was heartened because I ran last time and this time. In this iteration of preparation for election, the PLP actually has governance classes. And people like me who think I know the Constitution, and I do, I still have to attend them. Everyone attends them. And
You learning anything?
Well, someone like me, I'll be bound to critique people who I say might not have it quite correct.
Right.
But the importance of that is that you cannot assume that people who come to public service know about our system. It's quite clear when you listen to some of them that they don't, on both sides. It's just a feeling that unless you know the law, you won't know what the Constitution provides, because we don't have great teaching on it in civics in our schools.
Yeah.
And so the PLP has decided that everyone who might go into government will be taught at an elementary level what their role is, what their responsibility is, what public policy entails, so that you have some things. When we criticize particular F&M cabinet ministers, you know what I say? What you do is you line up a bunch of people and you just pick a team, right? Now, you never watch them practice. You never required them to practice.
Wow.
You never required them to perform. So you shouldn't be surprised if some of them are completely ineffective. Well, we're trying to move to deal with that by saying, we're going to tell you what you're getting into. In fact, we had a session where people came and told us the toll that public life takes on you, your wife, and you're cheering them. So that when the rubber meets the road, you're going to experience some things that you might not have anticipated, but it shouldn't be such a shock to the system.
Yeah.
And that is what we recognize and saw with some of these fellas.
Zane Lightburn, why aren't we teaching more of this in schools? Some of the things that Wayne Monroe was talking about, why aren't we doing that, getting into this, the Constitution more and the political system that we have here compared to others? Why aren't we doing more of that in our schools?
We changed our curriculum to include more of this type of teaching in the in the general public service system. But we do have these subjects being, or this information being taught in certain subjects in civics and in some of our Bahamian history in school. The thing is, to a certain level, history is an elective. When you become a high school student, when you are really, really interested in politics and government systems and the like. So I can agree with the point that we need to pay more attention to this. And as my colleague said, by doing what the PLP candidates are now required to do, to learn how to govern before you become the government, I think will help the Bahamian people. This is something that is designed to help our country. We all need our country to grow. We all want our country to grow. Lost on the information or the know-how. I think that the point that Wayne also made about the system is that there's too much complaint. There are too much complaints coming about the system. Who put the systems in place that we now function under? The people who put the systems in place put it in place for a specific time in our history or a specific period that served them at that time, and that served them, I guess, effectively, or what they saw as necessary at the time. If you go and you find that a system is not working, then you change the system. The system was put in place by people, and people are required to change and adjust. If you were given, for example, a feeding program for 1,000 people, you would have to first devise a plan on how to do it, if you have to do it in a specific time. And if the system, the plan that you put in place isn't working, then you go to the drawing board call your team together and tweak the plan so that it works.
Yeah.
Because you want the result to be that these people get fed. What do you want your result to be? And then how do you measure your success? Which takes us back to the beginning. It's measured by what is your intention, and then how well have we done that? And you cannot just pick out one thing. Okay, one person got fed. No, that's not enough. 10 people got fed. No, that's not enough. You were supposed to feed 1,000 people. And that's just to put it in the simplest form.
Right.
But the system itself is designed by people. And it should not be an excuse that the system continue to perpetuate inefficiencies and mediocrity. And we just go there and blame the system as if the system was handed down from heaven. No, the system was put in place by people.
All right, we have less than a minute. I've got to ask about local government. Local government in Providence, what it was promised by this administration, and at least they're going to look at it. And we got a report, and that was it. Nothing more said to this point, but what are your views on it, local government for New Providence, and strengthening local government for the Family Islands, where there is more autonomy, possibly even the ability to raise their own funding? What are your views?
We definitely have to go to this route. We definitely have to go the route of expanding local government even to New Providence. As my experience has led me in the Yamacraw constituency to address there are a lot of local government initiatives, the initiatives that can be addressed by local government. Case in point, there are a lot of overgrown property. We met some overgrown properties. Lights out. We have about 250 plus lights. We stopped counting when I reached that number. I stopped counting. 250 lights out in the Yamacraw constituency. It creates a hazard. People cannot use parks the way they want to, and it isn't safe. So local government, patching roads, taking care of drainage. If the MP is required to do that, of course, it's going to take some time, it's going to take resources, and it's going to have a level of bureaucracy in order to get it done. Even though we're doing these things, it requires more work, but it can be more efficient. It shouldn't take for me to come along to address all of these issues that when you can put a system of local government in place that address them consistently.
Yeah. Wayne Monroe, you agree with this? Local government for New Providence, at least we need to...
I lived in the UK is you often find local government as a way that central government shirks its responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
so,
if they're failing, then isn't that fine? Let them...
No, what you have is this. You have to fund local government. You have a mechanism to fund it. And if you leave them to fund themselves, then you'd have to see whether we have a model that can do that. So, for instance, people are leaving New York to go to low-tax states. And so you have to deal with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the UK, you have some instances where central government could say, we're not providing you with funds. And then, of course, all failures are put at the door of local government.
Right.
I'd have a closer look at it, personally.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully we can have you all back to discuss that in depth. I think that might be a good way to get some people out of certain places into some other low-tax jurisdictions. That might be the great way to grow the population in other parts of the country. But anyway, we'll have a discussion on that at some point. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Wayne Monroe and Zane Lightburn. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, that is it for us today. Morning Blend Business will be back tomorrow morning after Morning Blend right here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, have a great day, everybody. Aaron Green and On the Clock next.